to talk about stateful versus stateless protocols. First, we'll try to understand the differences between them. Then we'll also take example for each and understand deeper. Let's get right into the video. In stateful protocols, the server maintains the client state. There can be multiple ways the server can maintain the state of each request. It can be either user sessions, it can also be via connection contexts. In stateless protocol, the server does not store any client state. It treats each request independently. In REST APIs, we use JWT token, which is called JSON Web Token. And the second thing is stateful protocols requires sticky sessions. Sticky sessions is a concept where each request goes to only one server which it connected for the first request unless the server is not crashed. For stateless protocols, we don't need any sticky sessions because each request is independent and any request can be handled by any of the servers. And the third thing is scaling is harder in stateful protocols because of the sticky sessions. If a request is sticked to a server, then in the case of loads, that irrespective of the load in a particular server, the request should still be gone to the previous sticked session. So that limits the scalability. Stateless protocols are highly scalable and fault tolerant. As each request is an independent, we can have multiple servers. We don't have any sticky sessions. That's the reason why stateless protocols are more tolerant and scalable. Stateful protocols are comparatively easy to implement. Stateless protocols are little bit tricky to implement but highly scalable. So the trade-offs can be taken. If you want to talk about the protocols which these stateful and stateless nature uses, in stateful, in WebSockets, each WebSocket has its own connection, and that connection should be lived until the data is passing between the opened connection. So for this reason, requests in WebSockets are sticked sessions. It also applies to gRPC with stream. In stateless protocols, we have REST APIs. REST APIs are highly used in industry, and it also applies to GraphQL. Those are also stateless protocols. So this is about the differences and comparisons between stateful and stateless, and let's understand deeper with an example. So in this example, we'll be talking about the WhatsApp. We'll try to understand how WhatsApp works behind the scenes and why it needs a stateful nature. Let us take an example. You're trying to message your friend and there are two chat servers. Why there are two chat servers? There can be multiple chat servers because WhatsApp is a huge application. It needs multiple servers to handle so many requests. So let's just assume that there are two chat servers. In order to create the connections for you and your friend, there will be a middle service called load balancer. And when you open your WhatsApp, it first tries to connect to a WhatsApp server, and that will create a sticky session with the load balancer, where load balancer will create a WebSocket connection with the chat server. So every time you message to any of your friend, that will go to the chat server which you are connected to. The same way goes to your friend, the sticky session to load balancer, then a WebSocket connection to the chat server too. These two chat servers are independent. So when you send a message, that message will be passed down to chat server 1. Then how does your friend gets that message? As your friend is connected to chat server 2. Now these two services need some kind of connection. That is done via a pub/sub protocol, a messaging system in between them. So chat server 1 is subscribed to message queue, and also chat server 2 also subscribed to message queue. When you send a message, that will pass down to the load balancer, then to the chat server 1, and then that will just push a message to the message queue with your friend ID. When your friend connected to the chat server and that chat server 2 looks for the message which have been received for him, then just moved back to your friend. That is how the stateful nature works. That is how WhatsApp works behind the scenes. Now let us take an example to understand stateless nature of APIs. So in this example, we'll be talking about Amazon e-commerce website, wherein you try to log in and you also try to find some products in Amazon. So you have the phone and there are multiple services. One of the services is authentication service, and there are multiple product services which works the same way. We scaled it so that it can process multiple requests. Now we need a load balancer in between them. We have a load balancer. Now when you try to log in for the first time, that request doesn't have any parameter. You just try to log in, and that will be redirected to the auth service which handles the login. And now we use something called as JWT token. As each request in the stateless protocols are independent, for each request the server has to know exactly who you are and what accesses do you have. So for the first time when you log in, you get a JWT token from the authentication service that will be passed down to you. Now your browser or your application will store this session token. Probably this can be valid from anywhere between 1 hour to 24 hours. Then let's say you logged in. Now you're trying to find a product. Then you go to an API called /products where your query is laptops. So you're trying to find laptops in Amazon. As you have already logged in, you have JSON Web Token. So that token will be passed down with each request. In this example, /products. Now that token will be passed down to the product service one. As load balancer just hops your request, so it will just sends the same JSON Web Token to the product service. Now product service one has everything it needs. So what accesses do you have? What is your user ID? So now it gives back the results. You search, right? Then in the third request, you try to filter the laptops below or above 10,000. Now that is a different request. As this is a different request query and the current query is independent. The server doesn't care whether you have logged in or logged out. It only cares if you have a valid JSON Web Token. In this example, the same JWT token which is stored in your session will be passed down with this request. That will be passed down to a different service, as product service 1 and product service 2 are both same services. We're just trying to balance the load between multiple number of instances for high availability. So now the product service 2 also decodes your JSON Web Token, gets your accesses, then gives the result. Now you have filtered the products. That's it. It's as simple as it is. So this is how Amazon works with JSON Web Tokens. There are multiple other services which uses this kind of authentication and authorization protocols which are stateless. So the servers need not store anything on the sessions, and services can scale horizontally, meaning I can add one more product service which works exactly the same way product service 1 and product service 2 works, so that I can handle multiple requests when maybe if we have big billion days or something like that. Now let us take an example of how this JSON Web Token looks behind the scenes. So I'll take you guys to the official website of JSON Web Token. We are in the official JSON Web Token website, jwt.io. So when you log in for the first time, the server returns back a token something like this, an encoded base64 encoded and encrypted token. This token cannot be decrypted by any other service unless it has the key where the encryption happened. So for every request, this token will be added in the authorization header. So this is just random characters. And what does this even mean? What does it have? So in this example, each request has its own headers with what algorithm is used to encode and what type of token it is. So H256 is the algorithm used to encode the data, and it is of type JWT. And it also has a section for payload where that is the exact data we need in order to authorize a user for every request. In this example, this particular token has subject so and so ID and name, user's name, and IAT. It is the time where the token has created. And the last section is the verify signature. This signature is used by the server to verify that this token is not tampered with. Based on this signature, it verifies whether this token is tampered with or not. For example, I just removed C. Yeah, see, it says invalid signature. So that doesn't work. It needs exact token. If we remove at least one character, it doesn't work. It just say invalid signature. So this is how JWT token works for stateless APIs or stateless functions. Hope you guys have liked the video. If you guys liked it, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.